Hey man, you doing okay? Hmm? Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to think of some new ideas for Fear the Walking Dead. I feel like we're kind of running low on some ideas right now. Wait, you think you're just now running out of ideas? What? We've had great ideas up until now. What the heck was that? Well, I was just reacting and looking at the camera. Wait, do that again? Okay. You know, I think you've just given me an idea. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Anderson here, and this is Fear the Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 9, Channel 4. What a way to start the second half of this season. Because guess what they decide to do? They decide to go with a found footage documentary type episode. I know what you're thinking. Mason, we've seen that before, haven't we? Ever since The Office blew up in popularity, we've seen other shows either copy that formula or at least have an episode copying that formula. Yes, but the question is, what does Fear the Walking Dead do that nobody else has done to make it different? Well, first of all, they end it like a PSA. I know what you're thinking, well, that doesn't sound scary or ominous like the genre says it should be. That sounds cheesy and goofy and way unrealistic. And you'd be right about that. If anything, it makes me think of those stupid timeout on hate commercials, which aren't those hilarious to anybody else? Like, no, guys, we're not going to stop hate. We're not going to end hate. We're just going to put a little pause. We'll get back to it later. Who came up with those commercials? Do they not understand how timeouts work? Yeah, ended on a PSA, talking about, oh, if you're out there, this is what you gotta do. You gotta do this. You're talking down to everybody else. It's so condescending. Nobody's gonna listen to this. Nobody's gonna watch this and go, oh, they're right. I should be helping people. It's so dumb and doesn't fit with the theme of the show, with how the rest of the show feels. So like I said, that's the first thing they do that's different than any other show that's done this trope before. And that's the only thing that they do that's different than any other trope before. You would think this type of episode would not work in the world of The Walking Dead. And you'd be right about that, because so much about this just doesn't feel real. When you think about how much of this show is so dystopian, so down and mired, and it's not a fun world. Like, that's why characters like Sarah and Wendell to me don't work, because they're basically out of a sitcom. And so sure enough, Sarah in this episode feels much more natural, because this is the type of episode she would be more comfortable in if she were doing a parody show of The Walking Dead. Like, most of her lines are little one-liners, stuff that you would expect in a show that's parodying The Walking Dead in the style of The Office. Like, there's one moment when they're talking about Dwight cutting his hair, and sure enough, it pans over to her in a very Jim-like fashion, where she's like, it doesn't work. I don't understand why they thought this was a good idea, because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it fits these characters at all. If they had done it more like a straight documentary, if they had done it more like these characters just sort of reliving everything that's happening and explaining what's going on, if that had been the main focus, still would have felt weird, would have felt a lot more natural. The only scenes that felt natural in this whole episode were John's scenes, because it did just feel like a guy sort of talking to a camera and going, yeah, let me explain some of what's going on here. And he has like a little anecdote talking about caviar and the rich people eating caviar and how they could have done more, and throws in the little thing, I had caviar once, tasted like bait to me. Like, there are a few little things that just felt natural for him, just talking to a camera about the situation that they're in. But then as the episode goes along, they start doing these little random cutaways to make these little jokes. I think the most egregious one has to be the landmines one. We know it's landmines. We just saw the walker walk into the fence, step on a landmine, and blow up. We as the audience, okay, so there's landmines. That's why the lady doesn't want to leave. Cut to John. Landmines. It was landmines. Oh, so funny. Oh my God. Respect your audience, please. Whoever's writing, whoever's editing this show, respect your damn audience. We are smart enough to make the connection that there's landmines in the yard. We're not stupid. But there are other cutaway gags like that. You got Sarah doing her stupid singing thing in the truck and then cutting away. Yeah, they like to play music. I'm not a big fan of it. That's not music. It's not anything close to music. Oh, it's music, all right. What are you doing with this show now? So much about this just didn't work. You've also got the fact that they're trying to get to this test woman who's in the house. There's nothing interesting in this story, by the way. There's no plot twist. There's no anything to make you go, oh, it's just plain and simple. We're even cutting to some scenes after the fact where we see Morgan is still alive. So when he steps on a landmine, oh no, is he going to die and then somehow still give an interview after this is all said and done? Again, respect your damn audience. Don't set the scene up with all this intensity when we clearly see he makes it out of it okay. Like, it absolutely blew my mind that they were actually, as he's trying to unscrew the thing, and they're zooming in, and he's counting down, I'm just sitting here thinking, oh no, what's gonna happen? Are they actually trying to get the audience to feel that way? When literally 10 seconds before that, he was on camera talking about what happened at the house with Tess. It's mind-boggling. I truly don't understand what they're going for here. Because it looks like they're trying to make these scenes intense and trying to get the audience on edge, trying to get the audience invested, like, oh guys, what's going to happen? When they've literally already spoiled what happens with Morgan. He survives. And he's not scuffed, he's not scratched, he doesn't have a whole lot of injuries, so he's probably not going to be anywhere near the explosion. It's not going to be something that's going to be that intense. Sure enough. And even then, even after he gets away, fine, I'm thinking, okay, so what happens with Tess and the kid inside? Like, they already know the dad is dead. Is she, maybe her kid's already turned? Maybe she's going to step out and then it's going to go off and blow her up? And maybe that's why Morgan was looking a little regretful when he was talking about her? No. None of that happens. The mine explodes a little bit later, and then she walks out of the house with her kid. They give him the inhaler, and now they're part of the group. Again, I'm not saying that every episode needs to end with death and despair, but when you have all these moments that are set up like things are about to go bad, and then they don't go bad, you kind of take away a lot of the intensity in these scenes. You kind of make your audience go, well, everything's probably going to work out okay, because it does 90% of the time on this show. So why should I feel any sort of tension right now? So obviously this episode brought back a lot of the frustration and the anger that the show used to bring out of me of the first few seasons, because there's so many things about this episode that, one, don't make sense. When you think about the fact that they're filming all of this stuff, how does that make sense? Even in moments whenever people are about to die, even in moments whenever walkers are showing up, no, still roll the camera, Al. Make sure you get the story, Al. Yeah, Luciana, you make sure you still get the story too. Oh, good job. Now you've set it down and started shooting. Maybe a little too late. Maybe you could have put the camera down like, I don't know, a whole minute ago. But sure, now you can put it down and start shooting. That's a good thing to do. And unfortunately, that's not even the end of it, because we have some story decisions that were also dumb. So first of all, everything going on with Logan right now, apparently they just kicked him out of the truck. And they're talking about, oh, he was trying to trick us and we figured it out. Do we know for sure that that's what he was doing? Are we confident in that? And granted, he does seem to be back with his convoy at the end of the episode, so maybe that's confirmed. But how did they know that? Like, did they just assume? Or did he let something slip? We just see, apparently they kicked him out of the truck and made him walk. But who knows? Maybe that's why he went back to his convoy. Maybe he actually was willing to work with them, and them kicking him out of the truck is what made him decide, no, you know what, I'm going to go back with my convoy now, and we're going to just take the oil for ourselves. Who knows? We don't see Morgan talk about it at all. Like, we just hear Sarah's side of things, which she's telling it like it's a goofy story on some sitcom, so I don't know how serious to take that. It was just so rushed through. After the first half of the season ended with that buildup of a story, to just cut it off and not do anything with it feels lazy. Feels like they just didn't know what to do. They're like, well, it does feel weird that Logan's going to go with them, so maybe we just write him off the show. How do we do that? I don't know. They just kick him out of the group because they weren't going to be tricked by him. Well, was he trying to trick him? Yeah, sure, whatever. We'll just assume that that's what happened. Put some effort in. Writing team, whoever's in charge of that, put some effort into figuring out what you're doing with it. That whole scene at the end with them as well felt bland as hell. Like, I was so bored watching that scene because, like, it's just this assumption that apparently this guy is a part of Morgan's group. Don't know why he made that assumption, but he did. And so they take the gas back from him. And the whole reasoning that Logan gives him is that the dead are the ones that are supposed to walk, not humans. And so that's why he wants the gas so bad, so that they don't have to walk anywhere. Is that really the motivation we're going with here? Because it feels really, really simplistic. Not to mention that he gives this guy some cryptic message for Morgan, like they're making more enemies out here than they are friends. What does that mean? Like, what is his group going around and picking up people and being like, hey, those people that are trying to help you, yeah, they don't really want to help you. And the people are just going, oh, okay, well, let me join your group then and try to fight back. I don't understand what they're doing with this. It just feels tacked on at the end to be like, hey guys, here's the incoming threat. Here's what we got to look forward to. Logan and his group, and they've got so many bullets. Where from? Who knows? They just have so many bullets. Be scared. And it's not scary. It's not threatening. But the final thing that has changed that, in my opinion, is a really, really dumb change is with Alicia. Because I do understand she's kind of dealing with a bit of trauma from what happened with the one walker that she thought had radiation, and then she thought she was going to get the radiation poisoning. And I get why she'd be scared to take on a walker and to kill a walker, but I just feel like it's a dumb decision for the story. And it makes things more dangerous for the people around her. You know, she talks about trying to find her path to make things better. Well, one way you could do that is by taking out the threat. Just a thought. Something that might make sense. And the thing is, because I have read a couple of Reddit threads just to see what people were saying about the show in general. And I know Reddit threads typically are probably going to get more of the extreme opinions than most. And I will say one thing that I'm seeing a lot of is people are talking about like Morgan's ideology, not killing people, trying to help people, and how annoying that's getting. And here's the thing, I'm not as frustrated with that because I do think there does need to be a way back. It almost gives the show a goal to get to. Like, you're in this zombie apocalypse. You do want a goal in that. You can't just go around and like, all right, well, let's just keep surviving. Let's just keep barely making it. You have to eventually start getting back to some semblance of society again, where you're able to make things that can help people survive. You're able to find a way to live together with people in an area that is safe for people to live in, and trying to find a way to get back to some sense of normalcy. And so having Morgan's way of thinking, where he's trying to help people, he's trying to work with people, it is a little extreme, because we saw with Martha last season, she is one that could not be helped. So just leave her be. Either kill her, either get rid of her, whatever. Don't let her hurt more people. So there is a flaw in that ideology, but I don't mind the idea of helping people. So for Alicia, to see her softening a bit and trying not to just go around killing people, I think that's fine. Because one of my biggest issues with the first 3 seasons and parts of season 4 is how unlikable and awful these characters were. Because they were so willing to just kill whoever, they were so willing to just screw people over to benefit themselves. It did not make them likable. It made them frustrating to watch and to have to support, because they're the main characters and they're the ones we're supposed to see survive. So giving them more depth and complexity, giving them a moral goal to get to, trying to help people, trying to make life better, I think that's a good choice. But for Alicia, this is just taking it too far. Where first half of the season, she was trying to do better, she was trying to work harder, trying to save people, and she was a badass. She did take out so many walkers. She was very good at fighting against them. That was cool to see. And taking that away from her because of what happened with the radiation walker, I understand why she'd be nervous, but we're no longer in that radiation area, so you have nothing to be scared of anymore. And it feels like they're just kind of using that to make her go, actually, maybe killing walkers, maybe it's making me less of a person. No, it's not. They're monsters that need to be stopped. They're not human anymore. They have died, and now it's their corpse walking around. And if you don't take out the corpses, it's going to kill more people. So if you want to talk about helping people, if you want to talk about making things better for people, one way to do that is to take out the threat. So I don't know. It feels like a dumb change, and it feels like it lessens her character to something that is more of a threat than when she was farther gone and almost willing to just shoot on sight and ask questions later. So yeah, this first episode, second half of the season, not good. Not good, and aggravatingly so. Where this season so far has not been great, but it's been better than I have seen. It's been slightly more entertaining. It's not been as frustrating. The stupid moments didn't feel like they were happening as often. And when they did, yeah, they would still get me aggravated, but not to the level that some of the first seasons would. This is back to the first seasons. This is back to the stupidity of the first seasons, where the writing is bad, the character decisions are bad, and there's so much about it that acts like the audience is stupid, and acts like the audience is just gonna follow along and be like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next, whenever we know exactly what happens next. So, that long tirade done. Hopefully that's the worst episode this season. If not, then oh boy, we are in for a treat, aren't we? So with all that being said, on to the next episode. I'll see you there. And now episode 10, 210 words per minute. So this is one that it was decent in I'd say the overall feel of it, the narrative, the story between Morgan and Grace, I felt for it for the most part. It did feel a little weird that suddenly it turned romantic near the end. Like that just kind of, in my opinion, sort of came out of nowhere. Like once they were in the room, I think with the generator, that was the first time I noticed. I'm like, oh wait, they're interested in each other? Like I don't know. I guess maybe because Morgan has just not really shown much interest in any sort of romance. I felt like everything he was doing, it's just kind of who he is. Like he's a nice guy, he wants to help people. But after I realized that they were setting up this possible romance between the two of them, all of a sudden I realized what they were trying to do with some of those earlier scenes where he was helping her and they were making those connections. And like I just don't think they did a good job of those earlier scenes and making it seem like he's doing a little bit more for Grace than he does for everybody else. It just felt like he was just being nice because that's who he is. He helps people, he's constantly there for him. He wants to learn more about them because he wants to make that connection with people. So it's one of those things where I think because of how they've written Morgan so far, I don't think that was very apparent to me until they started to have a few more of those longing looks rather than just the typical talk that they're having between each other. And I will also say that there's not really been much between them up until now, so to suddenly have this episode where they're making that connection. Like I know you have to start somewhere, but I still do feel like maybe you could have shown a couple more episodes of them bonding and making connections, and then we can get to, oh, maybe there is something there. And then ultimately by the end of this episode, none of that matters because he decides to leave anyway, probably because he doesn't want to get too close. Maybe because there's still some residual trauma there left over from what happened with his wife, but also because he's aware she may not have that long. I don't know if he wants to get that close to her because he's worried about what could happen to her in maybe a month, maybe 2 months. You don't know how long she has. So they'll probably talk about that at some point. But that story, I think the acting brought out a lot of the emotion in it. Unfortunately, once again, the writing and the editing and how they set these scenes up took me out of a lot of these scenes. Because there are several moments that feel kind of stupid, feel unrealistic, feel like they're not being consistent in how this world works. First of all, Grace going off on her own because she thinks she sees the guy that called them there to kill him to, I don't know, I guess justify something in herself. It just felt dumb because first of all, it turns out to not even be the guy, but now all of a sudden you set up this whole thing to where Morgan now doesn't know where you are. He's not paying attention to the little truck he's driving, and that gets destroyed. So now the walkers are coming after them. On top of that, she makes some noise, which draws a bunch of walkers toward them, and now they're in trouble. All because of one stupid decision from her. And then they end up holed up in this place that has huge glass windows and doors that are mostly made of glass. And yet, the walkers are just banging outside. Just gonna bang outside because that's what we walkers do, right? We've never seen any walkers going through glass before, breaking down these giant walls that are really strong. Can we just get some consistency, please? Like, there's probably, I don't know, 20, 30 walkers outside of those windows. We've seen 20 to 30 walkers break down wooden fences, very sturdy and held into the ground. We've seen them break down metal doors when there's this many of them. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to get through glass quicker than, what was it? They were in there like 10 minutes. Pretty sure it would be like 30 seconds of them banging on it, and then the glass is probably going to break. I mean, hell, I could probably break those things down with just my own fist. And I'm pretty sure the walkers come at it with a bit more strength than even I would bring. Then you move to the dark hallway, and for some reason they turn off the lights to deal with the walkers. Why? Oh, well, the lights to draw the walkers' attention. Okay, yeah, but now you can't see them to kill them. And then on top of that, they set this thing up where Morgan, you hear the staff fall onto the ground, and just like, oh, is Morgan gonna be okay? Because once again, the writers think we're idiots, and they think that for some reason we're gonna believe that Morgan's gonna die to some random walker in the second episode of the second half of the season. Right. But it doesn't make any sense. Why would you turn the lights off so you can't see the walkers anymore? Why not leave them on so you see who you're trying to take out? Even if it does draw them to you, so does the noise you're making by stabbing them. So it doesn't really affect anything. It just makes your job harder now. So it's stupid to do that. And then we move on to the urgent care thing, and I don't know why they thought that trying to lift the thing was going to be a good idea. It doesn't make any sense. Even if it doesn't set off the alarm, just having to lift up the gate is going to make a ton of noise and draw walkers anyway. So it's really dumb that that's what they decide to do. And of course, then once again, this sets up for another intense action scene where Morgan's in trouble, guys. He could die. Stop trying to make us think that random walker encounters and random episodes of the season are going to kill off our main characters. It doesn't work anymore. We've seen so many of these main characters get out of these intense situations. We know it's not going to change. We know you're not going to kill one of them off in a random episode, like at the beginning of the season, just some random walker. Like, it's not going to happen, so stop trying to fool us. It's not working. We're not that dumb. At least I hope the audience isn't that dumb to believe that. On top of that, just the whole setup of this, with the alarm going off, drawing all the walkers to them, it feels like all they have to do is just get back upstairs. Well, they've obviously got the blockade for the escalators, so you got to get around that. They do that, but then they don't close it back. And so the walkers are now coming through up the escalator. And of course, now the escalator button doesn't work for some reason, even though the escalators are now working. You would think the emergency shutoff button would work too, but sure, let's have it not work because tension, guys. And then Grace manages to reverse it, so now, okay, the walker problem is solved, but not really, because suddenly all of these walkers that weren't coming out earlier, that were upstairs, even though they were making noise, it's not like they were being quiet while they were up there. All of these walkers were apparently just hiding out, waiting for now to come out and force them into an office. The only reason to do that is so we can get the plot moving, because going into the office is what helps them find Chuck up on the roof, and then they find him, and then we cut to they're burying his body, and they've cleared out all the walkers from downstairs that were a huge threat not too long ago. But now all of a sudden, they're not a threat, because they just went down and took him out. So which is it? Are they a threat? Are they not a threat? You can't have this intense scene where, oh, guys, what's going to happen? They got to run away because there's too many of them. 10 minutes later in the episode, you just randomly have them take them all out off screen. You can't have it both ways. You can't set up the scene as intense and scary and what's going to happen, and then in the next second go, actually, it wasn't that big a deal because they just cleared all of them out. No problem. So that's the lack of consistency that I'm talking about. There's just no real idea from these writers or directors, or again, I don't know who's in charge of setting up these walker scenes, these action scenes, but whoever's doing it, they don't do a good job. They don't make it feel realistic and consistent throughout the entire season, because ultimately it just feels like things happen to add tension and then things happen to save characters. And in a show like this, that takes away a lot of my interest. A lot of this stuff doesn't really matter. What they're doing doesn't really matter. Because in the end, what are the screenwriters going to have them do? Okay, so that's how they solve the problem. Cool. No real ingenuity involved. Just happens. Things just happen. Outside of that, we only really have the story with Dwight, and I'm not really sure what's going on here, because at one point it seemed like maybe he was having one of Logan's men follow him because maybe he might change sides. Because at the beginning, I thought they were suggesting that he wasn't trusting Morgan anymore. He didn't feel like Morgan has an idea of what he wants to do, so maybe Logan has a better idea. But then the guy kidnaps him and threatens him, and he's just saying, no, I'm not going to tell you anything. So I don't know what his plan was. I guess just to get captured? Sure. I don't really know what that whole thing was about. And ultimately, he does get the upper hand on the guy because the guy's an idiot and decides, this guy who's about to attack me, I'm going to turn my back on him to shoot a walker. Hey, here's a bright idea. How about you knock that guy out and then you deal with the walker, because the walker's not going to get to you when you're in the back of a truck. Dumbass. But of course, this sets up for Dwight allowing him to leave because he's trying to be a better person. So I guess in the end, he's still with Morgan. He still is willing to trust him. I don't know for sure. It feels kind of random, a lot of what happened with Dwight in this episode. Maybe we'll see where it's going in the next couple episodes, but for now, it just kind of feels pointless. I will also say Grace's story did feel a little odd in this one. She's worried about the radiation poisoning. She's worried about getting cancer. She wants to check it out. And then in the end, she decides not to. And I mean, I understand she's trying to just live life. She's trying to appreciate everything. I get the story that she's going through. I get the theme that they're giving her, the moral of the story. But something about it just didn't really, I didn't connect with it. I don't know why exactly, but I wasn't really feeling it by the end. When she turns the fast listen off on the audiobook she's listening to, puts it on normal, that felt like it should have been a more, oh, that's awesome type of scene. But instead, I didn't really have much reaction to it because I just don't feel like I cared about it, to be honest. So I can't exactly pinpoint the reason why, but I just know I was not really connecting with her in this story. Just that feeling of, I want to live life to the fullest. Like, I feel that way in my normal life, So it's weird that they didn't really do a good job of drawing me in and making me care about what Grace is going through. So I think that's about it for this one, though. So far, I'm not really looking forward to the second half of the season anymore, mainly because they've not done enough to get me interested in what's going on with Logan's group and this rivalry that they're building up, this new world they've created. You've already started off with a very weak episode that took me so far out of this story, and to the point where I feel like I just don't care anymore. So they'll have to do something pretty big, pretty spectacular to draw me back in. And honestly, I feel like the only thing that would bring me back into it is whatever was going on with Isabel and the group she's working with, and I don't think we're going to see that group anytime soon. It seems that may be more of a later part of the show, maybe the final season type of story. So we'll see. But with all that being said, those are my thoughts on these two episodes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these two? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Fear the Walking Dead reviews. Also check out the channel. We have a lot of other reviews on here, so check those out if you have time. But until next time, hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you all later. Peace out.